If you'll allow me, I want to say one last thing, though, because it's been a running thread in a bunch of questions, and that's this whole issue of populism. Maybe somebody can pull up in a dictionary quickly the phrase populism, but I'm not prepared to concede the notion that some of the rhetoric that's been popping up is populist. When I ran in 2008, and the reason I ran again, and the reason even after I leave this office I will continue to work in some capacity in public service, is because I care about people, and I want to make sure every kid in America has the same opportunities that I had. And I care about poor people who are working really hard and don't have a chance to advance. And I care about workers being able to have a collective voice in the workplace and get their fair share of the pie. And I want to make sure that kids are getting a decent education and a working mom has child care that she can trust. And I think we should have a tax system that's fair, and that folks like me who have benefited from the incredible opportunities in my society should pay a little bit more to make sure that somebody else's kids who weren't as lucky have those same opportunities. And I think there should be curbs on the excesses of our financial sector so that we don't repeat the debacles of 2007 and 2008. And I think there should be transparency in how our systems work so that we don't have people dodging taxes by setting up offshore accounts in other places and avoiding the responsibilities that their fellow citizens who don't have fancy lawyers and accountants that they can't benefit from those same tricks. Now, I suppose that makes me a populist. Now, somebody else who has never shown any regard for workers, has never fought on behalf of social justice issues or making sure that poor kids are getting a decent shot at life or have health care, in fact, have worked against economic opportunity for workers and ordinary people. They don't suddenly become a populist because they say something controversial in order to win votes. It's not the measure of populism. That's nativism or xenophobia or worse, or it's just cynicism. So I would just advise everybody to be careful about suddenly attributing to whoever pops up at a time of economic anxiety the label that they're populists. Where have they been? Have they been on the front lines working on behalf of working people? Have they been carrying the laboring order to open up opportunity for more people? Now, there are people like Bernie Sanders who I think genuinely deserve the title, because he has been in the vineyards fighting on behalf of these issues. And there, the question is just going to be, all right, we share values, we share goals, how do we achieve them? And I do think Enrique's broader point is right, which is, you know, sometimes there are simple solutions out there, but I don't know, I've been president for 7.5 years, and it turns out that's pretty rare. And the global economy is one of those areas where there aren't a lot of simple solutions. And there aren't a lot of shortcuts to making sure that more people have opportunity in our countries. We are going to have to educate our kids better, and that takes time. We've got to make sure our manufacturing sector is more dynamic and competitive, and that takes time. We've got to restructure our tax codes to incentivize the right things and make sure workers are getting higher pay. That takes time. We've got to raise minimum wages. We've got to make sure that college is affordable. We have to restructure and reform our financial sector so they're not reckless, but we got to do so in ways that don't destroy the entire system and throw millions of people suddenly out of work. And when we bailed out the auto industry, that wasn't popular, so maybe I wasn't populist, but I tell you what, all those automakers, all those UAW members, both here in the United States and in Canada, are pretty happy I did, even though it had about 10% popularity at the time, even in states like Michigan. So I don't know, maybe that was an elitist move on my part because it didn't poll well. Last time I visited an auto plant, though, they were pretty happy. So let's just be clear that somebody who labels us versus them or engages in rhetoric about how we're going to look after ourselves and take it to the other guy, that's not the definition of populism. Sorry. This is one of the prerogatives of when you're at the end of your term. You just kind of, you go on these occasional rants.